What is up? Welcome into Attacking Third as we are going live immediately following the U.S. against New Zealand third friendly in this window. Spoiler alert, U.S. took down the Ferns 6-0 in this win alongside two CONCACAF queens tonight. We have Satara Murray, former Jamaican international, and former U.S. international Lori Lindsey. I'm Lisa Carlin. Ladies, it's our first time doing this together on A3.
It is. I'm happy. I'm really happy to be here, honestly.
Yeah. Let's go.
Lori's like, I'm so in on this. Satara, this is going to be awesome because this is our first show together on A3, and this is the first crew. We're going to get all of our thoughts on everything U.S. women's national team, everything from the starting lineup to player debuts to what we learned from this overall FIFA window where the U.S. played Portugal in 2 matches and then New Zealand. They ended with a record of 2 wins, 1 loss. But thank you, everyone, so much for hanging, so much for joining us. If you're with us live on YouTube, hello, it is late night. Thank you. Like this video, subscribe. There's a whole conversation and community happening in the chat, so join it. It is on W Galazzo YouTube. If you're listening as a pod, thanks. It is so good to be here. Let's start with you, Lori. This game, it was a late one on this hump day. What are your thoughts? What's your reaction to this 6-0 win?
Well, you and I are messaging, and I'm like, I'm an old lady. We need to get to the show quick right after this. Right when the 90th minute hits, let's get on the show because I am tired. I thought it was a fantastic performance. I mean, fun that it was just like general thoughts that it was at CPKC Stadium to honor what they've done. The Longs have done in Kansas City. So I thought that was just wonderful. Labonta getting some playing time in front of the crowd, Coop, Wright, Hutton, all these players that play for Kansas City, the Current. So that in general, I think is just like fun in itself. And then also score 6 goals. Emma Sears getting a hat trick and a very different New Zealand team than we saw with the previous 2 games with Portugal. So I just think was a fun to be able to have 3 games within this international block to be able to rotate players. Obviously, there's decision day for NWSL coming up, and just seeing different groups. But we are hearing Emma Hayes say, listen, we want to start honing in on some of these players, but we also really want to bring some of these younger players along. And I think these 3 games, a lot of the younger players got substantial time and minutes and experience.
Satara, what about you? What were some of your general takeaways from this final match in this window?
Yeah, I mean, I think Lori kind of hit it on the head with
she took like 12 points in that.
I know. No, but she definitely did. And I think, obviously it was a completely different game than the first 2 games against Portugal. And I think everybody wants to see goals. Everybody got goals. They got 6, So I think overall it was a fantastic performance. I think, getting these young ones an opportunity, getting Lola Bonta in front of her, her home crowd, and same with Michelle Cooper, I think was a fantastic look. But I think overall, this is what people were wanting. This is what people were hoping to see, especially in that first game against Portugal. Obviously, we got a little bit more goals in the second one, but 6, without conceding as well, was a big thing. So I think overall, it was a great performance. It's great to see this next generation coming in and kind of taking over, doing it with their own pizzazz, kind of adding their own little element to it, and having some fun with it. You can tell that they're out there having some fun. So it was fantastic to watch.
There's fun when they're playing, but with Lo being in this camp, Lo Labonta, I was expecting more celebrations from these 6 goals, and frankly, we didn't really get that.
I mean, she is the celebration queen, isn't she? A little, what is that little hamstring down to a little torque, something along those lines.
Listen.
But it was funny because I was watching, hearing Julie Fowley speak, and she was saying with this generation, they're so composed, in front of the camera, on the pitch, kind of how they, they hold themselves. So it doesn't surprise me too much that we didn't get too much crazy Lola Bonta type of celebrations, but you're right. Especially in KC, you would expect something different.
She just hasn't had as much time to influence this team.
Exactly.
But the influence of a fast start in all 3 of these games was really impressive. And it happens again in this game because just 8 minutes in, it's Emma Sears getting on the board and dominating. But with this 6-goal game that the U.S. just played to, I agree. We needed 6 goals. The shutout is so crucial, confidence-wise, for Dickey, for everything in this group. It easily could have been 6-0 in the first half. And it was only 3-0. And that to me was a huge takeaway from this game. There was 18 shots in the US in this first half. They haven't had 18 shots in a first 45 minutes since 2022 when they were playing against Uzbekistan. And to have as much time on the ball as some of these players had, they needed to be more clinical. They had to pick out their passes a little bit more. And part of this was because the starting lineup was the youngest CAF starting lineup in what they say 25 years.
Right.
Still, if you want to be the best in the world and win World Cups and gold medals consistently, you have to be putting away the chances that you're creating and also creating higher quality chances. And that's something that didn't really happen, especially in this first 45 minutes with the US.
Absolutely. And I think we saw that throughout these 3 games is the decision making in the final third. It was whether a pass was too late or whether it's too many touches on the ball. And I agree, and I think it could have easily been 6-0, 7-0 in the first half for sure. But I think with it being such a young team, a little bit of inexperience, I think working together to making sure that final pass in the final third is on being clinical in front of goal. All of these things, it's like the margin of actually like scoring and not scoring is fine. So, let's just take away from the fact that they got 6 goals. But I agree. I think moving forward, as the games get harder, as they get into qualifications for the World Cup, these things, being in front of goal, it's going to be important. It's going to be imperative to be clinical in front of goal for sure.
Yeah, I completely agree with this. I mean, I think there's a couple of things though too. You have the youth that we just mentioned. You also have there's not a ton of cohesion, right? This team hasn't been together since when was it? June, end of June or so. And also you also have that aspect of the triple espresso not being there. So there's a lot of opportunities for these players to feel like they need to step in, make their mark. And I think sometimes when you have that, yes, you're trying to implement the principles and everything that Emma Hayes is adding into this team, the layers in the final third, but then also you have the aspect of okay, well, I need to score goals. That's what I'm out here for. I need to prove myself. I want time. And so I think all of those things wrapped in is show that okay, this team has created a ton of chances, and then refining that will just take time because we all know in the attack, that's always the last thing to come together. And so, and we heard a number of times too in the commentary and Melissa Ortiz saying, and even at halftime, staying as wide as possible. And knowing Emma from her Chelsea days, she would always talk about double width. And then you can have connections from the wide areas once you stretch out teams horizontally defensively, right? And it just creates so many more issues for the defense. So yeah, I think all of that will start to come, especially once they hone in on the roster more and more.
If the width of this game and specifically against New Zealand was such an important point, Lori, for Emma Hayes, how would you rate the width and how they stayed wide?
Well, first of all, I have such a soft spot for Michelle Cooper. I just think she's dynamite. I love the trajectory of her career. I called a number of her games at Duke, and she was a center forward then. And then just even over the last 2 or 3 years, right, with goodness, I don't even know how long she's been in the league. I mean, this
is her years. She left Duke when she was a sophomore.
Yeah.
And now she's been in the league for 4 years.
What? Okay, I was going to say 3 max.
Which is so crazy to think about because she had talked about how if she was coming into the league now, she would be such a young player and she has this pro experience and how she's going to use that to her advantage with Kansas City and with the US.
Yeah. Well, I cannot believe this is 4 years because this one season feels like we've been in it 8 years already, Sue. So I'm very confused on time with the NWSL. However, I thought Michelle Cooper was dynamite tonight. I thought she kept the width extremely well. I mean, I think on the other side, though, you could say there's times when Emma Sears, she got 3 goals, so I'm not taking anything away. But because there was so much width on the right side, you're naturally going to have to come in and try to get on the end of balls once they do create. So I think for the most part is the right side where we saw the overloads, a lot of the play come through. But yeah, I thought it allowed for players like Rose Lavelle, Lindsay Heaps to make runs through when she was in. So I think those are the types of connections that Emma Hayes is going to be looking for. Shorter connections, but also once you spread out the width, there's more space to be able to make those runs into.
It's so easy to give love to Coop. 2 assists in this game for Michelle Cooper and just a lot of aggression, a lot of driving at the defenders, wanting to get in the box and picking out crosses. And as a player that started her career and played at Duke as a 9 to now be a wide player and having to really hone in on not just crossing the ball and making sure she gets herself open and available for that lane, but picking out the perfect crosses. Her first assist was so perfect, how she bends it behind the back line and she picks out Sears on the run. So we can always give some love to Coop. She stands out. But Satara, for you, who else stood out in this match?
Honestly, and I was on A3 a couple nights, the last game as well. And Lily Yohannes for me will always, I think, be a standout. Like I was joking the other night saying that there's no way that she's 18, because I know when I was 18, there was not a shot in hell that I was playing like that, But for me, it's just her composure, it's her vision, and I'm just reiterating what I said the other night as well. And I think for her is the fact that she could pick out these passes and just like absolutely like lay them on a platter for her teammates, and and then just continue on. And I just think for her, it's there's so many elements to her game that we don't typically see in someone her age, right? And so we're seeing someone that plays like a veteran. We're seeing someone that you would think she was on the national team for years, had 200 plus caps, but she's 18, has very little caps to her name. And I just think this is someone to me that her future is so freaking bright, and I cannot wait to see what she does when she gets into her 20s. And and so for me, she just stood out. I think. And especially kind of leading up to that first goal, that back heel to it was incredible. So for me, Lily was definitely a standout player for sure. I could rave about her for hours if I wanted to, honestly.
Okay, correction, Michelle Cooper. This was her 3rd season.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. I was like, this is 4th. I was like, wait a second.
I'm very sorry about that. It's late. We mentioned
no, it is late. Listen, you're good.
I love the love on Lily Yohannes. She needs to be a consistent starter and player for this U.S. women's national team. I don't care how old she is. I don't care how inexperienced she is in terms of caps. Lily Yohannes needs to be playing all the time for the U.S. When I'm watching her, I feel like the game in Lily Yohannes' brain is in slow motion because she seems like she can analyze and pick out everything. The spaces on the pitch, where the defense is, the pockets where her teammates currently are, the space that they're moving into. And she just makes everything look so easy. Right. So easy and silky on the ball. I just imagine that everything is in like 0.5 speed in Lily's brain.
Right. Honestly, she did like a Maradona and I'm thinking, no, you're not real. Like it's not happening. You know what I mean? It's incredible though. It's amazing to see, honestly.
We got to give some love to Labonta because the fans at CPKC Stadium tonight were chanting, "We want low, we want low." And similarly to the A3 fans chanting, "We want Lori and Satara on the show together." A3 gave the fans
we were
what they
chanting
wanted.
That
too. Emma Hayes gave them what they wanted. Labonta got in the game in front of her home crowd. This is a player, Lori, that it was the oldest at the time when she got her cap. And she now was a late call into this camp. But what is going to be the move for Labonta to make her mark on this team, to be a player that Hayes consistently looks at, or at least is questioning to bring in and give time to?
Yeah, I just think consistently playing. I mean, obviously what prevented her the last time to go in after she got her first call up was her injury. So that was just really unfortunate for her with the play or the level that she's been playing at. But now she seems to be right back into that after getting back healthy and pushing her Kansas City team along. And I think that's the biggest attribute with Lowe is just her leadership and the joy that she brings, and knowing that she's a veteran player, but using that to her advantage to have like wisdom. Because even though with like these younger players, and we talk, and going back to Lily Yohannes, I had the ability to interview her last week for a different show. And I was like, should you be my mentor? Like, what is happening? Like, this is amazing. You're way more mature than I am. Like, I don't even know what's happening. But there still is wisdom in having all of these years, the longevity of Lowe's career, and being able to help players along. And also just like understanding even more so where everything has come from, right? Like when Lowe started, how different the league was, how different just the game was, and providing that type of experience is so important. And I feel like that mostly outside of Lowe's ability on the field to put in tackles, to direct play, could be a huge advantage, especially if we continue to see Emma Hayes bring in younger players. And you're going to need that, right? Every team needs that. And that's what Lowe brings to Kansas City. And you will not find anybody on that team or Vlatko Ananoski for Kansas City that won't speak that exact same thing across the board on like how important she is to their team. She's their engine. So I can see her playing like that type of role. Right. Whether it's starting or not, right? I mean, let's be honest, this team is so stacked that it's like, I don't even know how you make those decisions. And it's going to come down to pairings, I feel like, and like trios and stuff, and like who suits each other the best and plays off one another. But yeah, I can see Lowe providing that type of leadership and experience and just like freaking joy that she brings.
And perhaps for Labonta, it's not as much like, okay, you're going to come in and be our starter in the midfield, but more of like, what are you going to provide when you're not the starter or you're not even getting minutes?
Yeah,
and that mindset role that Labonta brings as a veteran and understanding almost her role, whatever that may be. And Labonta has talked about it. And like, I'm here to play a role and to do a job for this team. And of course, show out and be my best self. But the intangibles that a player like Labonta brings as a veteran and just a player that's been around the game and has faced a lot of adversity, is sometimes those intangibles set you apart from even just a younger player that maybe is the same on the pitch as you, but it's the locker room, it's the practices, it's the conversations in the hotel room during a 4-week stint in Brazil at a World Cup that changes how a coach and how everyone is looking at you. Lola Bonta, she got minutes in this game. She came off the bench. She didn't get the start, but we had 6 changes from match 2 to match 3 for Emma Hayes in the starting lineup. Stick with us. We're going to go through the entire 11 that started the game and break it down for you. Hey, welcome back to A3 USA. They took down New Zealand 6-0, and the starting lineup that Emma Hayes rolled out with was young, inexperienced. The average age of this group was 23.2, the least cap starting 11 in almost 25 years. Kennedy Wesley, the center back out of San Diego Wave, made her first first debut. She earned her first cap with the U.S., becoming the 25th player under Hayes to debut. But let's talk about this lineup, because we had 3 teenagers featuring in this lineup, Satara. And you talked about the first games against Portugal. We got to see it again with these young guns coming out and proving themselves in this game. Who impressed you of these teenagers?
Obviously we already know Lily. I mentioned her before, but to be fair, I think Claire Hutton as well. She, I think we spoke about her on the last show that I did as well, about how she was just, doing her role and what she was doing, and she did it very well. These girls don't play like they're teenagers. They don't play like they are, and I quote, inexperienced, because they're not. They're playing in the NWSL, and Lily Yohannes' point, she's at Lyon, but they're playing at high levels week in and week out, right? So, and it's showing through what they do with their clubs and how it translates into the the national team. So when they come out here and they're playing against competition like Portugal, like New Zealand, it doesn't show that they're teenagers at all. You would not think for a minute that these kids were 18, 19 years old. So for me, Lily, as like I mentioned, before we went to break, to me, she's beyond her age. She's just a standout, amongst the entire team. To me, she just sticks out what she does. And like you said, she plays the game. She must play the game at like such a slow pace, but to me, it's just such a sense of calmness. You would not expect somebody at her age to play the game with such composure, such vision. And but yeah, it was wonderful to see. I think overall, teenagers or not, they did a really great job. Overall, the team just did a phenomenal job tonight.
I think the back line is also very interesting, because with Lily Real, Jordan Bugg, Kennedy Wesley, and then Emily Sams on the right back role, that center back pairing between Bugg and Wesley, 3 caps, because Wesley earned her first one. Bugg only had 2 coming into it. But if you add in Sams and Real, there was only 11 caps in those back 4. Now, against New Zealand, not necessarily tested as much, but it's still a big role. There's still a lot going on, especially when you have a goalkeeper in net in Claudia Dickey that's not necessarily the number one, not necessarily on her standing on solid foundation with the U.S. as well. Everyone is trying to find their place in this game. But to me, these players that are given these chances are doing their best to make the most of it, especially because you never know what's going to happen with injuries. And across that back line, I was impressed with Sams playing somewhat out of position. Now, has played outside back a number of times, whether it was collegiately or even with Orlando Pride, but she did a really good job in that outside back position. And I prefer her as a center back, I think, but you need players. Emma Hayes needs players that can do most roles and slot between different ones, whether it's 3 center backs or a 2 center back and a 4 back or an outside back for Sams. She got forward. She was aggressive on the ball. She was a bully going into tackles. I think there was still some moments where she was facing the wrong way. Little positioning was out of place, but all in all, I think that it was a pretty good test for this young, inexperienced back line.
Yeah, most definitely. And with Sams, I was intrigued to see how she would do as a fullback, because obviously she does predominantly play as a center half with Orlando. And so I'm a former defender myself, and I don't think people realize that the roles and responsibilities between playing a center half and a fullback are completely different. And so, when you're transitioning from one position to another, because I used to play both myself, and it's not easy. Your responsibilities are so different. It's a different type of focus you have to have as a center half compared to as a fullback. So I was really intrigued to see how she would do at the fullback, but I was overly impressed with her as well tonight, in terms of, because it's not easy to just like to switch on and off, you know what I'm saying? And so, she was getting up and down. She was getting up and down. She was, I know she wasn't credited for the assist with, I think, Macario's goal, but I mean, she got on her butt and she got that cross in and just happened to deflect it, right? So I think for not, playing that position, frequently and coming in tonight and doing it in this atmosphere and having that sort of performance was really impressive.
Satara, you have switched between center back, outside. difficult? You just mentioned. What's the most difficult thing about switching between those two positions?
I think for me personally, it was when I was a fullback, having the ability to get the ball, go forward, right? You're creating an attack. I tried to do the same thing when I was as a center half, and when you're central and you're central, you're in a different position. It's so different. But I think also with just your positioning, being able to command is just a little bit differently when you are a center half compared to as a fullback. And those are what I consider a role where it's not easy just to switch, like I said, switch on and off with it. So the fact that she was able to do that though, and did it what it seemed like with such ease, and it wasn't easy for her, but it looked easy for her, was really cool to see. So I mean, now we know that Emily Sams can easily play as a fullback if needed. So that's wonderful to see.
Check, write that one down. She can do it. Sams can slot in anywhere. All right, Laura, what about this front line? First time that we got to see Emma Sears, Kat Macario, and Michelle Cooper start together. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're assisting and you're scoring goals. I think it's freaking great. I just saw something too that was pretty funny, where it was like there was a tweet that was like Macario and Sears putting their arms around each other, and it's like, raise your hand if you have a brace or whatever. And they're like, well, that tweet didn't last long, because then immediately Sears gets her hat trick or whatever. So yeah, there it is. That's fun. Anyway, yeah, I think, listen, when you're put out there and you want to create chances, and there's like, in Emma's talking about patience and also looking for combinations and all that stuff, but just like also being clinical, we saw that in those goals. I think Emma Sears did a really good job of putting herself in at the right time to get on the end of balls from Michelle Cooper, when she would drive in the inline and then look for those little cutback balls, or even if the earlier balls across too. And then Kat Macario, I think the beauty of what Kat brings. First of all, I thought her goal, the one, her first goal. No, wait, sorry. What's
Kat
the
Macario.
one?
The first one was the one that it like came across from Sams, and the goalie
that one
got a save, but it was already
like needs to be getting more love. To take that first time and like to be able to do that with like a short like little wind up and like hit it so cleanly, dynamite. I'm sorry, it's like it needs to be good. I mean, then Rose Lavelle hit her half volley and stuff, so it's like, okay, great, we're one upping everyone here. But that goal for Kat, I thought, was exceptional. And the beauty of Kat is she's going to be able to play a little bit higher up and draw defenders, but she can also drift in, and then depending on who's playing underneath her, then they can get beyond, right? And so I think she really invites other players to come into the game. So I like this combination a lot. I thought it worked really well, especially with how pinned back New Zealand was defensively.
So which goal would you rather score? The Kat Macario first goal, the one that you're just giving some love to, or Rose Lavelle's goal?
Why are you even asking these questions?
Because it's
Listen,
fun,
I've probably scored 2 goals my entire life, so I'm scoring both of those. Okay, no, I'm sure. I'm joking. I'm taking both of those goals. So I mean, listen, those are both were world class. Taking first time, get out. Come on.
Okay, what about Emma Sears' third goal? I want that one.
Oh,
that's
for
the
sure.
kind of goal I'm scoring.
Well, please. No, I'm just joking.
The love for Kat Macario needs to continue, because this is a player that so much of her movement and her positioning and the little drop passes that she does is like the first domino to fall that then sets everything else in motion for the US. And Kat Macario in front with Rose Lavelle in behind is a very fun combination of players, because they're both so free on the ball, and Lavelle overlaps, and Macario's so comfortable back to goal and playing with her, and they looked really comfortable. Honestly, this group looked pretty comfortable considering they haven't played a lot of time together.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree. I'll say one thing too about Kat Macario, much like Satara was saying about Lily Yohannes, is there's just like a deception to the way that they play, and their movement is so, the word is smooth, but there's like a cleverness that you don't expect. And it's not even a cleverness of like, oh, they're flicking balls on, because we know they can do that. But the way that they strike a ball with the inside of their foot, the way they can strike a ball with like their laces too, there is like another level to the way that they bring others into the game that you don't see from many players. And it's just fun. Even when Kat Macario, bless you, Lisa, is just switching the point of play. It looks like she's going to play a forward ball and then just opens up her hips and continues the ball moving to the other side. And those are like the little things that's where the game's going, right? And a couple of these players, I mean, there's more, but these two players in particular, I feel like are leading that way.
Right.
It's easy to talk about the front line and the movement and the possession when the U.S. dominates it and they score 6 goals. But I want to ask defensively. The goalkeeper position has been a question mark. And I think the conversations around Fallon Tullis-Joyce have been pushing her towards that number 1 spot. But Claudia Dickey earned the start tonight, and she earns another shutout. And she has played in 4 of the last 6 games for the USA. What do you see in the goalkeeper position, Satara, between Claudia Dickey and Fallon Tullis-Joyce, who's there right now?
Yeah, I think, because to be honest, I thought that maybe Emma would have switched it up tonight, if I'm being honest. So to see Claudia getting to start again, maybe perhaps we may see that she is favoring Claudia a bit. To be honest, Claudia didn't really have much to do tonight, but then coming into the second half, she had that save. And I think it's so easy to switch off when you haven't had to do anything for the better part of like 45, 55 minutes. And then here it is, this big opportunities coming at you. And then boom, here's this, this world-class save. So I rate Fallon a lot. I think, seeing what she's doing at United is, clear as day that she is a fantastic keeper. But when you get into this environment, it gets really competitive, right? And so, I think with Claudia, obviously having shutouts and, and having another shutout tonight, and having that save, I may think that Emma may be favoring towards her, but then again, you just never know, so we'll just have to wait and see.
And when a keeper isn't tested at all, and then all of a sudden has to come up with a big reaction save, I think that says a lot about Claudia Dickey.
Exactly.
Now, you just said it, Satara. Hey, we may know this, we may know that. Guys, tell me if I'm, overthinking this. Would Emma Hayes know, like, okay, PTJ is my number 1, so I'm going to give more time to Claudia Dickey? Like, how many mind games are being happened here? How many traps are we falling into? Because I'm going down all the rabbit holes.
Yes, you are. Goodness gracious.
I wouldn't have even thought of that, honestly. But I mean, honestly, that could be a possibility.
That says more about my playing career and the coaches I had than anything else.
I honestly don't think she's playing games. I think that she is saying to each of them, like, listen, we're still very much evaluating this position. Go for it. We want somebody to rise to the occasion. We want somebody to take this as their own. And I think that's being said, right? And both of these players have been in such good form with their club. And I think it's tough at this point in time when you come in and you're trying to give, this game is very different than those 2 other games. So, but when you're trying to get minutes and evaluate, huge save from Dickey though. I mean, as we've all said here, like when you don't have much action and then to come up and like to be able to like push off and get a little bit momentum, then to be able to get that save, great. Mm-hmm. And I do know about one thing that Laura Harvey's continuously said is that she just continues to improve, right? And she really honed in the off season this year of being like, yep, this is my mindset. I want to play with a national team. Here's the areas that I need to improve, right? And she's just taken that and continues to go. But I love this. I love this like little kind of battle to see who's going to step up, because I think both are terrific. Yeah. And there's still, even though it's not that long of a runway, there's still enough. So I'm just curious to see who's like, yep, here we go. So.
Yeah. Laura Harvey has talked about Claudia Dickey and how much of an athlete she is. I mean, she was a dual sport athlete
exactly
in college at UNC, and that has just been like the resounding comments about her, people that train with her, coaches that have worked with her. She's just a stud athlete. And I think a save that Dickey makes tonight in this game, that is such a reaction athletic save, goes a long way. And you need both keepers. It's almost like which one works the system and the opposition that you're looking to do and move forward with. We talked a little bit about this front line and Emma Sears, but the people in the chat, they're just like wanting so much love for Emma Sears and this hat trick. Does this mean that Emma Sears is here to stay? Her performance tonight?
I would say, if I was Emma Hayes, I would say, you know what, that earned you definitely a spot in my books for sure, because to come in and to get a hattie like that, and aside from getting obviously the hat trick is just everything else that surrounded the game tonight. I think, and you're seeing her doing with racing as well this season. So to be quite honest, I mean, you're right. I think we do need to give more love to Emma Sears for sure, because, it's not very often somebody just comes in and just gets a hat trick like that. You know what I'm saying? So, I thought she had a really good game, and hopefully more to come for sure from her.
24-year-old Emma Sears, and this was her first professional hat trick, if you will, and she gets it with the US.
Cool.
Like, it's so cool. That's so sick for that player. Congrats, Emma Sears. What a game for you. And congrats to you guys for making it through segment 2. Let's go. We're going to take a break. Don't go anywhere, because we're spinning it forward, talking our final thoughts and this window for the US overall. What happens the next time we see the US? Stick with us. Hey, welcome back to Attacking Third. The U.S. women's national team close out this October international window with a 6-0 win over New Zealand. But in 3 games, they scored 10 goals, conceded 3, won 2 games, and lost 1. There was a lot to take away. But overall, Lori, what did you learn from these 3 matches for the U.S.?
Well, I don't know if this is like a learning aspect, but it just continues to highlight, whoa, we're good. And also there's still a lot to work on, right? Like when you think about the cohesion and the final third, all the things that we talked about when we opened this show as well. So still a lot of growth, but this is a hugely deep player pool. Emma Hayes has brought in a lot of players to give caps to. And even when we talk about the back line tonight and how young they are and they didn't really have much to do, just being out in that field and feeling confident in those moments, being rewarded for the play that you've put in with your club team, that is a massive step forward for all these players to continue to push. So I think, one, we just continue to see that these players are growing. They're being pushed under Emma Hayes and her coaching staff. And you do see where the quality is, and also just like the little aspects and little details that we're going to have to clean up to be able to beat like consistently the top. So yeah, it's always so fun. It's like, I can't wait.
We're really good. I like that. That was your takeaway. We're good. The US team is good, and they are like that's.
And we score early, and they're obviously motivated, right? So like that can be a superpower in that instance as well. So yeah, it's fun.
Even without triple espresso or Alyssa Nair, who has dominated between the sticks for so long, like this team can still get the job done. And facing adversity in match 1 against Portugal and losing that game, I think might have been one of the best things that has happened to this group. And the fact that it happened in match 1 of 3 during this window allowed the space for adaptation and growth and recovery mentally, physically, and tactically of this group. And it happened in such a short span. That's what I learned, is that not only can this team get it done, respond with an opening goal in the first minute in that second match after they lost a game, but then hold on to it. And then hold on to it again against a different opponent after travel, after so much change, and to go through this adversity, which maybe isn't as much as this team could take or should take, but it's enough to have a little bit of friction when this team feels like it's just been smooth sailing from the outside looking in, because there's a lot of depth. These players are really talented. Our coach in Emma Hayes is really good as well. That to have a little bit of a combat conflict, you need it. And to see how they respond, pretty good, hands down.
Absolutely. I think what both of you guys said was, y'all hit it on the head. That was my biggest takeaways from it as well, is how were they going to respond after the first game? Because it's, a lot of the time we don't really see the U.S. taking L's like that, honestly, and especially against teams like Portugal, who historically, we've beaten all the time. So I was really intrigued to see how that bounce back was going to look like. And they absolutely exceeded my expectations. When we had that second game against Portugal, obviously with the change up, her bringing in, the kids, and her with Emma bringing on the younger ones, and seeing how they would go out there and do, they blew it out the park. And then coming in tonight doing the same exact thing. So for me, I think this is a team that is adaptable. I think what we need now is a little bit more consistency, having these girls kind of play with each other a little bit more often. Because like Lori said, having that cohesion, because I think the more we see more of that, the more we'll start to kind of seeing things kind of form into a much more concrete way. And we'll start to kind of see that, I won't say old school U.S. national team, but kind of getting back to our consistent winning ways. But what I enjoyed seeing wasn't this woe is me mentality after the first game, and it was, okay, we're going to bounce back. We're gonna give people something to look at. It was obviously a conversation that like, what is this where the U.S. women's national team is now? What was that performance? And they didn't use the excuse of not being together for 100+ days as a reason as to why they couldn't perform. They took it under the chin, and they came back and they bounced back and got 2 dubs back to back. So overall, extremely proud of what they did in such a short amount of time, like you guys were saying, and having that ability to come together, even if these pieces don't always play together often, but finding a way to win. And they did that tonight and on Sunday as well. So a really, really overall, I think a good takeaway from this camp, and a positive to move forward going into the next camp playing against Italy in December.
Yeah, we get to see that in almost a month, less than. But if you want Satara more consistency, more players that are back in this camp, who is a player that you think has really made a name for themselves or strengthened their position with the U.S. under Emma Hayes?
Tonight, I know I've raved a lot about Lily, but I want to bring Michelle Cooper back into the conversation, because I think Michelle does things that I'm like, the way in which she was going at defender tonight, being that 1v1, finding the space out wide, knocking in those precise crosses into Sears, twice, might I add. And so I think she's made a really good argument for herself to kind of be a mainstay. Obviously that can be up in there, but I think the more we see, Michelle, and I think it starts obviously what she's doing in club as well with Kansas City. I think that confidence is coming from that environment as well. And it's just obviously translated into the US team, I think, beautifully. So for me, she was, I think, an absolute standout tonight. So that would be another one for me.
I like that you went recency bias with the Cooper. I mean, she's always good, but like in the game tonight, because I think Olivia Moultrie.
Oh yeah, I was going to say Moultrie too. Yep.
Yeah. Lori, stop stealing my players.
Let me just start talking. Okay, Lisa, you're the host, Lisa. Let me talk about Olivia Moultrie. I can't even get the name out now.
Go. I'll say the name. Olivia Moultrie. Cook, Lori.
You go.
I mean, her play in the first two games, I think her maturity, her patience on the ball, her growth, her positioning as well. We've known Olivia Moultrie in the professional space for years, for 5 years, guys. She's been a pro since she was 15, and she's proven that she can play at this level since she was 15. But now she's doing it consistently at the highest level. And I think to do that around players that are someone like Lindsey Horan, who's been wearing the captain's armband for so long and who really eats, sleeps, and breathes this red, white, and blue team, to other players alongside Moultrie who are younger than her, even teenagers, also fighting for her spots. And we touched on this at the top of the show. It's such an interesting position for some of these players because they're trying to prove themselves. And it's a team sport, so you have to work together, but also you're going to have some really selfish moments. And I think Olivia Moultrie did a really good job of balancing, this is my chance to prove I'm here, while also it's my job to set everyone up. And I'm going to find that final pass that actually makes my teammates look better. And her goals came from that. It was almost like she had the ball, she gave it away and let her teammates cook. And then she got it back and was able to score and be an influence on both sides of the ball. So I think Olivia Moultrie, I've put a lot of pressure on her this year with Portland Thorns to step up, and she's done it at club level. And now she was given this chance, and she proved why Emma Hayes should always be looking at Moultrie.
Yeah. To be fair, I guess because obviously she didn't get minutes tonight. So, but I thought how she was against Portugal on Sunday, I mean, she's fantastic, honestly, and she's still so young. So it's so cool to see that these kids are so young, and having the talent that they have, and and having the abilities to go out there and do what they do consistently. So yeah, you know what? I'm going to agree with you guys both, and Olivia is up there for me as well. So I was obviously very focused on tonight, but thinking back to her game on Sunday, I was like, she was very good. She was outstanding, actually. So, and I know she's doing that consistently with Portland as well. So, I think she's taken this role and has taken it on her shoulders to be a leader, to an extent. And she's going out there and doing her thing. So that was a great call.
Yeah, I stole it from Lori, obviously. Okay, but we get a next camp, Lori, in just over a month. November 28th and December 1st, the U.S. will play against Italy. Tough competition in a group that really turned heads this summer at the Euros. Is there a player that was in this camp that you think needs to come back outside of the superstar standouts, or someone maybe that didn't get a call in that you want to see in this next camp?
Well, first of all, I cannot wait for these Italy games because they were so fun. They were my favorite team in the Euros. So I just was loving them. And I think they are way beyond in terms of sophistication and tactically than we even noted. I mean, I had to study them, right, for the Euros and stuff, but I think that they are just beyond what people realize too. So super fun. I think it's going to pose some interesting challenges for the US, just in a way that just help us continue to grow and evolve as a team as well. Well, I'm super hoping that Trinity Rodman's going to be healthy. Hopefully Naomi Girma. I would love those two to get back in, just to see them on those two lines. But I
want Croy Bethune.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I want Croy Bethune, but I want this midfield to work for their positioning, to work for minutes in a starting lineup. And I want Croy Bethune. Bring her back up. Why not?
Yeah. No, and Croy's been excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent with Washington. So, but also I think I will continue. I'm going to go a little bit different. We've already talked about Hutton, but I think Hutton for her age too, and just in general, is world class.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the way that she moves the ball, I think she allows for others she can get forward, but I think positionally she allows for others to take a few more risks centrally as well. So that her skill set, I think, is going to be needed against Italy, just to like really have a solid player in that position that's not going to float, that's going to just stay. And then depending on who's around, right? Again, they can maybe float and take a few more risks, but I'm going to say Claire.
Mm.
Yeah, that's a good one. I just want a lot of midfielders.
Oh, now you're taking Claire?
No, I threw off for the show. I actually do my homework and I come prepared for these shows with players that I've thought about. Thank you. We'll share notes next time.
Sure.
Guys, this was fun. This was great. Satara, Lori, to chat with you about this and the game, the U.S., their entire international window that they had. But tonight they got the job done. 6 goals, a hat trick for Emma Sears, Kat Macario with 2, Rose Lavelle with the goal, and they take down New Zealand 6-0. Guys, thanks so much for hanging with us. If you're with us live on YouTube, if you're listening as a pod, we so appreciate it. A3 is going to be back on Sunday, November 2nd, 7 p.m. That is immediately following NWSL Decision Day action. All the games are happening on Sunday afternoon. We're going to do the playoff bracket during that show. And instead of our weekly best 11, we're going to do our last best 11 of the entire season. Like, this is our last one that we're going to do on Decision Day. So don't miss it, because we know how much you all love that. Thanks so much, everyone, for hanging with us. For Satara, Lori, Des, Audrey, our producers, I'm Lisa. This was Attacking Third.